What's going on, guys? So Dark Knight's Metal is the gift. It's like the gift that just keeps on giving. And the conclusion of that series was like Christmas morning on the entire DC multiverse. Because as a result of it, we're being introduced to the Dark Gods. And that's really just a name given by the multiverse that we're used to. Because in my opinion, I wouldn't necessarily compare these guys to like the Greek pantheon. In my opinion, they're more comparable to the Endless. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so let's dive in and get a better understanding of what we're dealing with. And I feel like the best way to do that is jumping back to the very conclusion of Dark Knight's Metal. Because after the Justice League defeated Barbatos by using 10th Metal, which was a process that also broke the Source Wall, this event gave birth to a new age of heroes, some with new powers, like Sideways for example, and others who have literally been around for ages, in the shadows, protecting ancient secrets. But because of the recent events, you have some who are trying to take advantage of the opportunity, forcing heroes like the Immortal Man, who's been recruiting for centuries, to step out of the shadows because his underground war, which has been hidden forever, it has now been taken to the next level. But all of this that we're seeing unfold piece by piece, we got a taste of at the conclusion of Metal. And I'll even say one of the biggest mysteries that we got a precursor to, it was the fact that Daniel from the Endless went missing. And I got a few theories on this one. We'll probably save it for another video. But what we do know is, one, he can't be killed, so he's not dead. And we know from recent issues of Wonder Woman that people are still dreaming. So even furthermore, that proves that he does exist somewhere. But on top of that, he wouldn't just leave Lucian's library. And for that reason, this teases the question, where did he go? Was he taken? And if he was taken, who would be powerful enough to do so? And I'll go as far to say, if anybody would be powerful enough, and not just powerful enough, but also have the motivation to pose as any threat to Daniel or the Endless, it would be the Dark Gods. And so the Dark Gods, who just appeared shortly after the most recent death of Darkseid, many of which appearing on Earth within these monoliths that just stood stagnant until they can draw enough power and be released. And as it turns out, these Dark Gods, as they would be called, are from the Dark Multiverse. And much like Batman said at the end of Dark Knight's Metal, because the Justice League used the 10th Metal and defeated Barbatos, along with that there will come consequences, and more specifically, dark desires being brought to life. And that is exactly what brought the Dark Gods here. Because at the time, while connected, Wonder Woman had a desire for the old gods to come back, and while being connected to all that power, and even with that power having access to her darkest desires, the Dark Gods as a result used this as a doorway to cross over. But only 5 of them made it through, and there's still another 7 that are not accounted for. So now, before the Dark Gods even arrived, like, this has been prophesied for a good minute, and I'm trying to remember who started it, because a while back there was a prophecy that the wall won't last, and eventually we saw what that meant when the Source Wall was broken. I can't remember who exactly said that, but it'll come back to me. But either way, closer to the actual arrival of the Dark Gods, a number of other gods made their provisions, some to combat them, and some in the case to punish Wonder Woman for bringing them here. And just as an example, Cheetah went into like this super kill rage, and I know you guys are probably like, well, when is she not? Like, this is Cheetah we talking about. She stays slicing and dicing on them. But this particular time was very different, because she actually wanted to be free, and not just for the sake of being free, but she wanted to cleanse her soul in preparation for the next gods. And this is very much because the most recent version of Cheetah, she's an avatar for Earth's Kartaga, but with the Dark Gods on their way, she knows that these Dark Gods are way more powerful than her god. So she's going for the juggler on everyone she passes, and she also attempted to deliver Veronica Kell as a more substantial sacrifice. But Wonder Woman shut that down with a quickness, so that didn't happen. But there still were others speaking of this coming up until the time of their actual arrival. And this is how we got Supergirl going after Wonder Woman, primarily with the objective of removing Wonder Woman from the Earth before the Dark Gods arrive. Because before the 5 Dark Gods get there, they want Wonder Woman out of the way. And that's the main reason why you have so many people being controlled in an attempt to end Wonder Woman before the 5 monoliths appear. And I gotta say, after everybody that was sent to get Wonder Woman, Supergirl was probably the closest. Like, she seemed to give Wonder Woman the most difficulty, not just because of her power, but because she was being mind controlled. She would attack Wonder Woman without the slightest concern of injuring herself in the process. And eventually she does get the upper hand on Supergirl by using the lasso of truth to break the influence. But even when this is done, the monoliths still arrive. Wonder Woman is still on Earth. Supergirl is unconscious right now because of exhaustion from the lasso of truth. And at first response is really just Wonder Woman, her brother Jason, and Argus. which really is just Wonder Woman and Jason. Or better yet, just Jason. And that's mainly because as soon as the monoliths appear, the Star Sapphires, they come and they take Wonder Woman to Xamarin, pretty much leaving Jason to handle this all by himself. And even though he's Wonder Woman's twin brother, like, Jason is not experienced enough to be the level of a threat that she is, at least not yet. But the armor that he was mysteriously given was given to him for this purpose. Because initially, this armor, when it was made by Zeus, and it was made for Wonder Woman. And him getting this armor instead is one of the things that Batman foresaw back in Dark Knight's Metal. And at the time of Dark Knight's Metal, when Batman saw this, he saw this as a future event. And since then, this event has come to pass. But when Zeus made this armor for Diana, initially he did want this armor to go to his son. But after the birth of Diana, he had since been saving it for Diana, but he never got the chance to give it to her because Darkseid ate him. Simple as that, like as simple as that. But the remaining old gods gave this armor instead to Jason so that he could fight against this threat which was soon to come, even though the armor was meant for Diana. And when he was bonded with it, it was made to fit him, tied in with his mind, soul, and body, and is now inseparable. So it's not like he could just take it off and it'll just give it to Wonder Woman and it'll just flip-flop into something for her. But once bonded with it, it's his permanently and he just gotta figure it out. But a benefit to it is now he has a weapon that amplifies his power and also ties him to the powers and knowledge of the old gods, which will definitely come in handy later. But when Wonder Woman was taken to Xamarin, initially she was like, well, y'all got the worst timing in the galaxy, I need to get back now. But when she gets there, she finds out that much like on Earth, that there's a monolith that has appeared at Xamarin as well, which is the 5th monolith in addition to the 4 that are on Earth. And so now this dark god, the final dark god of the 5 that have crossed over, appeared at Xamarin not by coincidence. Because if you guys remember back when Wonder Woman defeated Darkseid, she did this by drawing out the old gods whom she loved and was connected to. And that's even with her only knowing her father Zeus just for a brief moment. But through the love and the blood connection of her father and her half-siblings that Darkseid consumed, as a demigod herself, this connected her to them where she was able to draw them out. And that was a blood connection which was much stronger while she was in close proximity with Darkseid. And without her knowing, in a way, this was preparing her to do battle with the dark gods. Because unlike her brother Jason, Wonder Woman doesn't need physical training. And from her experience of fighting so many wars, she's already a master tactician. But here on Xamarin, she has to go up against the first dark god that we're truly exposed to. And much like in the event Blackest Night, Wonder Woman joins the Star Sapphires, but this time facing a threat that's from the dark multiverse. And as many gods have their designation, this god from the dark multiverse is actually the god of love. Yep, the dark multiverse got a god of love. And this is a love that has been straight murdering Star Sapphires, by the way. And this god by the name of Carnell was actually created by King Best, who is the main monolith that we'd seen previously on Earth. But it's when Wonder Woman confronts Carnell that we find out that it's been Carnell's plan this entire time to get Wonder Woman to leave Earth so that the other 4 dark gods can use Earth to recreate their home in this reality. And after that, bring back the other 7 so the 12 could be complete. But the thing about these dark gods, and a lot of which we find out through Carnell, who is the first one that we actually see come out from the monolith, is that King Best and this pantheon that he's gathered, that where they're from, they're considered more than gods. And with all of them drawn out and 7 of them missing, seeming to be separated when Wonder Woman pulled them into this reality, it's almost as if those 7 specifically, and we don't have their names yet, but it's almost as if those 7 have been grouped with Dream and the other 7 members of the Endless, because that's a real specific number to be just up and missing, in addition to the coincidence of Dream missing right after Dark Knight's Metal. But with Carnell pulling Wonder Woman away from Earth and battling her at Xamarin within the realm of his mind, Wonder Woman is able to defeat him by pretty much beating him at his own game. And even though he had meant to be a distraction this entire time, Wonder Woman, being the brilliant war strategist that she is, she knew that she could only defeat him with the help of the Star Sapphires, because unlike the others that have tried, Diana, her love was pure. And even though she was able to defeat him, this didn't kill him. But instead, this only saved Xamarin for the time being and gave Wonder Woman the opportunity to get back to Earth. But with everything that she learned from Carnell, this gave her the understanding to move with love and defeat Carnell at his own game, even though that was just a distraction. But with one of the 5 out of the way and 4 to go for now, Diana returned to Earth to face King Best and the other 3 dark gods that had already been released from their monoliths. And I tell you guys right now, like, this is only the beginning. But that'll do it for this one. Let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments. Like, what do you think of the first 7? Like, where are they? And with these guys being, quote, more than gods from the dark multiverse, like, where would that place them? Because we know by way of the Merciless that there were actually, you know, the Greek pantheon in the dark multiverse. And if these guys were more powerful than them, like, that's a whole nother can of worms right there. But hit me in the comments, let me know you guys' thoughts, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.